Receiving simulator transmission. Uploading transmitted feed. Initializing playback sequence. All right, Seipher, we're ready.
Hey everyone, Seipher here, and welcome to my brand new Let's Play. Seipher plays Pirate101. Okay, so before we actually get on into this, you probably weren't expecting this unless you really paid attention to the... Well, I suppose I shouldn't say that. You probably did kind of expect this from all the hints I dropped in the announcement video last Friday. Or at least that was the plan. I don't necessarily know that it's going up Friday. Probably Friday, but anyway. Yeah, probably weren't expecting an MMO, but I have a lot of good memories with this game, both when it first came out and later on when I came back to revisit it. As you can see, I do have a maxed out character, at least for where at the time of recording this. However, I will not be playing that character because I want to go through the full story again with a different class. So, let's just get on into this. We are a boy. Probably not going to be keeping that color scheme or that appearance, but we'll get to that. I will be going over various things in this character creation, so this episode might be a bit lax on actual gameplay, but we'll get into it. Okay. Alright, well, I already have a name in mind, but before we do, well, I'm just gonna go through as quickly as I can. Gonna get rid of that first word, and then let's see, we're pretty far away from both the first name and last name I want for this new character, but that's alright. Let's see, almost there. Okay, read, and you know what, it's probably faster to go up than down, if it's like the... Yep, probably faster. Oh, no. There you are. Reed Voss. That'll be this character's name. Okay. And I'll try and not make it so that I talk over the characters, since I can actually hear them voice acting now, since I've changed a bit of how I record these, so let's go. Okay, so in character creation, this is going to be your first major choice beyond your name and gender. This will actually have an effect on gameplay, these choices, anyway. This first one is a relatively minor choice. It will affect one companion that you get later on in the game. You have 5 options here: Shipwrecked, Mutiny, Squid Attack, Storm, and Armada. My personal favorite among these options is Shipwrecked, but I already did that with my Buccaneer in the past, so I'm going to avoid picking it. In terms of usability, from what I remember reading up about this game back in the day, Shipwrecked is probably the best one to go with, followed by Storm, then Squid Attack, then Armada, and finally Mutiny. I personally could go with Shipwrecked if I wanted to again. The character that you get from it is pretty good, but I will be holding off just to go with a different route. So let's go with Storm. Okay, once again, we have 5 options between Grizzleheim, Rocketopia, Marleybone, Mushu, and Skull Island. Now, this is another rather important choice because it will affect a bonus that any character you create has when they start the game. And unlike with the decision in How Your Parents Died, it is a rather important one, as there are only 2 that are really all that worth it. Those being Grizzleheim, which will give you Naturally Tough, which will give you, I believe, 5% more HP in total, and Crocotopia, which I believe gives 10% bonus to your spookiness. The other bonuses are much weaker. Marleybone gives Keen Eyes, which is basically just a flat +5 to your accuracy. Mushu gives Born Warrior, which is a flat +5 to your weapon power or strength. And then Skull Island gives you Born Sneak, which gives you a flat +5 to your dodginess. So all in all, these 3 over here are not that strong. They are good for the early game because at the early game numbers are really low and any point increase is appreciated, but as the game goes on, they'll become far less worth it. So I would also say that depending on what class you choose, you're going to want to choose between these 2, Grizzleheim and Crocotopia. For Buccaneer, which is what I did, I went with Grizzleheim because that plays well into Buccaneer's strengths. However, for the class that I'm going to be choosing this time around, either could work, but I want to try something a little different, so we're going to go with Crocotopia. Okay, and your final choice for this section is your class. The crime you commit will determine how your gameplay will function, as you choose between Buccaneer, Privateer, Witch Doctor, Musketeer, and Swashbuckler. This will affect your normal abilities that you gain throughout the game, how you participate in combat, the starting gear that you'll begin with in this first section, and the first companion that you will get. I have already gone through Buccaneer, and maybe someday we will come back to that character, but for this instance, I'm going to go with Swashbuckler. So, let's go.
He assaulted an Armada officer while defending your best friend's honor.
You are a swashbuckler. Swashbucklers are known for their speed and cunning.
What distinguishing marks have you got? You know, hair color and style, expression and whatnot.
Okay, this is probably going to take a tiny bit of time. Let's just... Yeah, I think... Yeah, I think that's good for the hair color, and I think that should do for the actual style.
A pirate must dress to impress. How do you?
And now to just quickly go through and change up Gonna change that. And let's have... you know what? Let's change the hat again. Go through all of our options. Okay, that's fine, I suppose. And... let's see... Alright, I think that'll be fine. And let's actually change the boots. That, I think, should be alright. Although, let's actually... see, I could have sworn there was a... yeah, that should be fine.
You're gonna need a flag. Every self-respected pirate needs a flag. Select an icon for your flag. Use the color buttons to choose its base and trim colors.
Alright, well, I think I'll go with... that for the actual icon for our crew.
Now choose how the field behind the icon is arranged. Use the color buttons to choose the base and trim of your flag's field.
Yeah, I think white for that base and this indigo for the actual trim.
The colors you pick for your flag will also be used by your crew for their uniforms, so
Hmm.
you can keep track of them in a fight.
You know what? Maybe swap to navy for the base and have white for the trim. Yeah, you know what? I think that'll do.
Now let's get you out of this confounded cell. There's pirating to be done.
I do not want to skip the tutorial. You get...
Jammed! The bulkhead's bent.
Well, now what are we supposed to do?
Look there! That paddle's broke free. Quick, use your arrow keys and go through that hole there. Make your way back around to us.
Alright, well, this is certainly more complicated than before.
Run over to the cell and press the X key to talk to the prisoner.
Alright.
Use that lever. Get me out of this cage.
The X key lets you use objects. Run to the lever and press X now.
Okay, well, this is going to be interesting. I've never actually done...
I am Subadai from Mushu. Take me with you, pirates. Together we shall crush our enemies.
You've gained a companion. He will fight for you in battle.
Come on, pirate! Find us quick!
Alright, well, we have our first companion, or crewmate. Technically our first mate. Should be rather interesting to work with. Gonna be interesting to see how this compares to Buccaneer.
So long. Let's get out of here before we get blown to bits.
Alright, just gonna follow these guys out.
Grab the hole.
What's this? Boatsbeard! Trying to steal my prize, you ruffian? Deacon!
Spy master of the Armada. I think we're in trouble.
Our jailer
And just like that, we are thrown into combat. Much like Fire Emblem, it is a turn-based game.
Use it to order you and your crew to move and attack. The highlighted characters
Use your mouse to choose a target or destination to move to. The blue line shows the path you will follow.
And we'll confirm. And lucky us, this is scripted, so we get a critical hit on this Battle Angel.
well done.
Look out! Now it is her turn.
Beware those spark throwers. That's how guns work in the Spire. They generate a burst of electricity to stun you into submission. Be careful. If your health falls below 0, you'll be knocked out. Your turn. Click the hurt angel to knock her out.
Okay, well, I suppose that is one way to get past the whole no firearms in a kids game thing. Kinda seems odd though, considering I imagine being zapped would hurt just as much and be. It just never made any sense to me with censoring guns to energy weapons in some cases, but I suppose it's easier than having actual ammunition. Anyway,
You dare hurt my friend, you will pay. Your companion gets a turn. Click the closest.
That's it. Now click done.
and I did not mean to skip over his thing, but whatever. And I guess I don't get to choose where Stupid Eye goes in this fight, so oh well.
Excellent. One down.
Hi! Your new friend's full of surprises.
Time to play for keeps. Click on your attack power. Now click the unwounded angel as your target.
Now for your companion. Click the wounded angel to finish her off.
Perfect. Click done to end your turn.
Alright, so pretty simple tutorial. I suppose it should be expected since this game is meant for kids, but I figure I as well do it once on camera since we might not be ever doing it again if we do the other classes eventually.
Not so fast. Do you think you can defy the might of the Armada?
What are those?
Surrender! Don't make me destroy you. No, don't bother. Lads, fire! Impressive. It seems we've underestimated you, young pirate. You'll regret making an enemy of the Armada. Enjoy your freedom while it lasts.
Well, that was helpful, and I'm grateful for Butchbeard for doing that. Hopefully we're free to get out of this ship now.
That blast nearly did me in! I can barely see! Pirate! Use that rope to get to my ship! Take the helm! You'll have to get us to safe harbor!
Alright, well, looks like we don't have much choice. Let's just pull on out.
Now, that's navigation in a nutshell, pirate! You're a natural!
Well, I don't know what caused that, but pressing the forward key will increase speed, as he's saying. You'll be slowed down if you get close to an enemy ship.
Now, set course for the docks at Skull Island before any more clockworks find us.
Oh no, another Armada ship! Battle stations!
the powers that you have in the
Not now. You'll have time to learn that later, pirates.
the powers that you have in the bottom right will be how you mainly fight in ship combat, but we'll get into that at a later time. For now, we gotta escape.
Hit the windstone button or the Z key to give her a boost. Full speed ahead.
They're giving up! We've done it! Click the boost button or press Z again to return to normal speed.
That's better. Now, set course for the docks at Skull Island before any more clockworks find us.
We have arrived! Press X to make boat.
Find Captain Avery. He's an old friend of mine. Always hiring good pirates for some scheme or other. Good luck and good hunting.
Alright, and with that, we have finished the tutorial. Now, I could get the main quest started, but I'm just going to end things off here. I know that it's probably a bit shorter than most episodes, but I feel like that's a decent introduction to the game and the basic gists of combat. However, before I do end things off, I'm going to point out one thing. I have a poll set up in my community tab because I want to actually have some audience participation. Whether you subscribe to me or not, I would prefer if you did, but I obviously can't force you and would never want to force you. Anyway, a poll going up at the same time as this video is in my community tab, and it's basically going to let you guys decide how do you want this series to come to you. I have two options for it. I'm thinking either, much like the Let's Plays I've done previously, I will have this be just my sole focus. We'll go from the start of the game to the end of the game, at least the end of the first saga, at least as I see it, because at this point the second saga has started to release, which is kind of why I chose this game for playing now. But anyway, back to my decision. You can either choose to have me go through this game as I have with the previous Let's Plays, beginning to end, no stopping, or because of how long this game is, since it is far longer than any game I've played up to this point on the channel, I am considering allowing for a seasonal release where we'll do batches of the story here and there, going from, say, this episode to the end of the first major story arc, and then stopping, moving on to another project, and then coming back later. So it's really up to you guys. I could personally go either way. I just want to see what you all think and see what you guys would want to see for the channel going forward. So, with that all covered, I'm going to end things off here now. I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, stay gold.
Playback sequence terminated. Transmission disconnected.